Okay, next session. So, as well as probably being the most successful nation in dealing with the COVID pandemic, New Zealand also happens to be pretty good at sport. However, Sport New Zealand did not want to rest on their laurels and, after spotting some negative global trends in youth sport, decided to create a new nationwide initiative. Balance is better, to ensure that sport continues to be a positive and developmental experience for children. To talk about this, we have Andy Rogers. Andy is a national sport development consultant and coaching lead for Sport New Zealand. His key responsibilities include supporting national partners to build athlete and coaching systems and leading the delivery of the Sport New Zealand Coach Developer Program. Andy has been involved in coach development for 12 years, following a career of 15 years as a professional tennis coach and consultant. Welcome, Andy. Andy, over to you. By the way, what time is it in New Zealand at the moment?
Morning, Sergio. We're about 7 a.m. in New Zealand. So
Okay.
thanks for the invitation and great to be part of this global movement.
Thank you. Go ahead and share your presentation with us.
Can I just check that that's
Yeah, that's coming through, Andy.
on your screen? Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit this morning or this evening in a lot of countries about our journey in the youth sport system design. And as I said, the presentation is titled Balance is Better. I thought I'd split the presentation up into three key sections. First, just to give the viewers a little bit of context about New Zealand. The second, to talk a little bit about our challenge, which is very similar to the rest of the world, I think, in the youth sport space. And thirdly, talk a little bit about how we're going about addressing that challenge. So in terms of context, that's our beautiful little country there, 3 islands. We're a country of only about 5 million people, so surrounded by a lot of ocean there. We have a really proud sporting history in New Zealand, so we like to say that sport is in our DNA. So we have a strong culture and history of sport at youth level, but equally for a small country, we perform really, really well on the world stage. In fact, we often talk about we punch way above our weight on the world stage. Despite our history and our clear culture around sport and how it plays out in the lives of people, there's been a dark cloud bubbling away in our youth sports system for a wee while now. And the evidence is now showing us that a lot of youth are dropping out of sport, and the offerings being provided by the system are not delivering to the needs of the youth participant. This next slide just talks to a little bit about that. You'll see a couple of lines, and at the point of about age 14, the age of participants is along the bottom, starting at 5 to 7. As a country, we go really, really well in terms of participation rates till about the age of 14 or 15, where you can see both in terms of hours per week and the number of activities that participants are partaking in take a very, very sharp decline, and that continues to drop off. And we now know that, as it's been talked about over the last few days, there are a number of reasons for this drop off. But our evidence would point to that there are a number of factors that the system is not delivering to based on the needs and the wants of young people. So how are we taking action? Well, what we've done as a government agency is we've designed a philosophy, or built a philosophy, which essentially is a framework for the system. And this framework is an evidence-based framework that essentially asks the system to place the needs of the participant at the very center of everything we do. And it looks to challenge some, I guess, some common assumptions around what we have seen playing out in the sports system. We call the philosophy Balance is Better. At the heart of Balance is Better are 3 key issues that have been identified over time, but based on research in New Zealand and abroad, and based on interviews with key people in the sector. And those 3 issues center around to be fair, a lot of high performance behaviors coming down into the youth sports system. So the first issue or challenge that we're faced is based around the concept of childhood success. So being successful as a young athlete is a reliable predictor of future success. Well, in actual fact, we know in a lot of situations that can be quite the reverse. The second is this concept of, and great to hear Joe talk about this behavior of identifying athletes early and asking them to specialize in one sport. It's taking a massive toll on our athletes, both from a well-being perspective, but particularly around injuries as well. And the third is around a clear focus on placing winning over development of young people. So Balance is Better is really about keeping all young people involved in sport for a lifetime. It's about improving the quality of experience for young people and helping them realize their potential in sport and in life. And it's acknowledging that very few people will ever go on to high performance sport, but everyone that gets in sport can have a great experience if it's delivered based on the needs of why young people play. And again, this has been talked about over the last few days, but we know pretty clearly that there's some key concepts around having fun, and that varies for a lot of people, but experiencing challenge, this concept of developing and mastering skills, being part of a group, so the social connection. So these are all the keys that we're placing at the heart of Balance is Better. What are we doing in the system? We're working a lot more collaboratively with partners. So we're joining forces to ensure we're talking about the same language, that we're aligned in our beliefs. We're doing a lot of work around promoting the key messages through many channels, through social media, through a website that we've set up, through our partners' strategies. We're looking to challenge some of the traditional competition formats that focuses on specialization and representative teams that pick a few over developing many. We're looking to encourage and support athletes to take part in a range of activities. And clearly, which is why we're here over these 2 days, is we're looking to support coaches and improve their delivery of quality experiences. Here's a quick little video of one example of a partnership that Sport New Zealand had with 5 of our large national sports. And the messages here are really about too many young people are missing out.
Andy, can I ask you quickly, did you tick the box for optimizing video when you share the screen? Because we can't hear the sound. I wonder if you can stop the video for a second, stop sharing, and then click that tick box to make sure that we can hear the sound.
So another concept that we're about 18 months into this, we've set up a standalone website, which is called Balance is Better. And at the heart of this, we've got resources. It's about connecting and sharing best practice stories across the sector. So we're addressing coaches, we're addressing parents, and we've got information to support system leaders in this website as well. So I'd encourage our viewers, I'll share the link. We've got some amazing stories, both from New Zealand and across the country on that website as well. And finally, and I guess probably the closest point, it's pretty dear to my heart, is the role that coaches play in this. We know that coaches are an absolute critical enabler to quality sporting experiences. So we're doing a lot of work to support our community coaches who, majority of them are volunteers. So we're helping to support coaches by asking them to become an informed leader. So understand what Balance is Better is about and how they can share that in their community. Become a local influencer. So stand up for and challenge inappropriate behaviors at community level. Become a servant coach. So put the needs of young people ahead of themselves. So be humble and place the needs of young people ahead of, I guess, their own coaching egos. Understand that in this business, we're coaching people first. And that sport can deliver so many quality experiences and life skills if delivered in the right way. Fun and safe being talked about a lot. So ensure it's fun, connect with people, and provide a safe environment that young people will want to come back and enjoy time after time. Keep the big picture in mind. So we know that only a few people may ever go on to represent their country or compete on an international stage. But again, everyone has the opportunity to experience a quality sporting environment that encourages them to come back and fall in love with sport. So that's a real big concept for us, keeping the big picture in mind. And finally, again, a lot of research in this space, but engaging positively with parents is a huge piece for us, in that we want to bring parents on the journey. We want them to be well informed. We want them to be engaged and support coaches at community level. What are we looking to achieve in the long run? Our long-term objective is to ensure that everyone in the country has an opportunity to get involved and positively experience sport, and the potential it has to not only improve them in their sporting endeavors, but equally improve them in their life and work environment as they go on. So that's our little story, Serge.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Let me try and restart my camera. Here we go. Okay. Fascinating, really. One quick question, really, before I go to the Q&A. Andy, when you started proposing this, you must have had a lot of people say, well, as you said at the beginning of the presentation, look, we are punching above our weight. There's nothing broken. Why fix it? So how did you cope with that, or did you face that?
We did, Sergio. It's a really interesting question, because essentially what we are asking our system to do is take a real transformational approach to this. And as we know, behavior change is hard. It's not an easy thing. So the way that we've gone about that, by bringing partners along for the ride, the evidence was shouting at us. It was really clear, both, internationally, it's been around for a while, but equally we started to get some really good evidence in New Zealand. We had, case studies of athletes dropping out. We had some great data that we previously may not have had to help support the cause. But I guess in the end, that the participants' voice really stood out in this as well. In that, they were leaving with their feet for very good reasons, and they were able to tell us that. So in essence, we were able to point to the fact that, yes, we can get more young people involved if we do some things, but equally, if we do this, it's going to help us improve on the world stage as well. As we know, we've got such a small talent pool here. If we can keep more people involved in sport for longer and help them become better, it's actually going to add to our talent pool, which is going to add to the results both nationally and on the world stage as well.
Thank you. That is fascinating, really, because I think it's really interesting that such a strong nation like New Zealand was able to tackle this before it was kind of showing at the performance level. Normally, all these kind of overhauling of the system initiatives come after a debacle at the Olympic Games or something like that. But actually, you've done it when you're still being successful at the performance level, which is fascinating. I've got a question from Aaron in the Q&A, asking, is there any research currently to show if the program is working?
Yeah, that's great. We've got some really on the website. I mentioned there's some case studies starting to pop up. So as I mentioned, change is difficult and it takes time. So we've had to work through and the sports system's complex as well. So we've had to work through a lot of layers from national level, policy level, down to regional level, and then out to local level. But what we are seeing is some emergence of some really fantastic stories around how national bodies have stood up and changed what might have been a national under 12s tournament to more of a local development program. We've seen changes in season lengths to allow for recovery of athletes and have a period of down. So there are some really cool stories that are starting to emerge, and we're trying to capture them and use them as increasing evidence for change as well.
Thanks, Andy. There's a lot of questions on the Q&A that I would really encourage you to go and answer after now. If you could stop sharing your presentation, because I want to share one slide to make an announcement on our behalf. So let me share my screen quickly. Okay, let me clear a couple of things. Okay, can you see that slide now?
We can. Yes.
Perfect.
Looks good.
All right, so everyone, this is again another milestone moment really for iCoach Kids over the last 2 days. We've been discussing this with Andy and his team for a while really, and we're really pleased and delighted to announce that iCoach Kids and the Sport New Zealand have signed a new partnership to really, and it's a cooperative partnership where all the great work they're doing in New Zealand, we're going to try and really make the most of and also share with the rest of the iCoach Kid community around the globe. And also Sport New Zealand is going to be looking at using the iCoach Kids resources to, as Andy was saying before, have their coaches be informed about what it is that they're trying to do with Balance is Better. So the two philosophies really align. Andy, I don't know if you want to say any quick words about the partnership.
Look, Sergio, thank you. I think just to say that Sport New Zealand are hugely excited about the opportunity to join the iCoach Kids family. We think it presents a wonderful opportunity to continue to support our coaches. And we know more than ever, online support is becoming increasingly critical. And none more than through the COVID period, where we just saw technology step up in both supporting coaches, but also connecting coaches. So hugely excited about the partnership and looking forward to our collaboration. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Andy. It's an absolute honor to have you in the family. Okay.